What we're going to be talking about, as you know, is resilience. And it's such a critical component that all executives, all leaders really need to learn how to create and build, because it supports, it's the underpinning, if you like, that helps to cultivate your mind, your mindset, during both personal and professional moments, and create those triumphs. Yeah. So it's, as it says on the screen, why resilience? Well, it's the cornerstone of overcoming challenges and achieving sustained success in all aspects of life. And if we were to try and define what it is, a classic definition talks about bouncing forward, as well as consistently being adaptable, being agile, optimistic, and having this growth mindset. And what's the role of resilience during these challenges, during these setbacks? Well, it's all about how we face the challenge and learning how to thrive during that adversity, not only survive. And I think that's really key for people to understand. People all around will be trying to survive during adversity. That's what we do as humans. But if you're able to embody resilience, resilience helps us to really learn how we can thrive in that environment and really maximize the opportunity that other people see as a challenge and difficulties. All right, welcome Team ET. Welcome to Building a Resilient Mindset, a key to mastering success behaviors. This is our live broadcast for February 2024. And as you can see on the screen, we're saying farewell to our mastermind by looking at the importance of building that resilient mindset. Now, we didn't have time to cover resilience in that mastermind that just finished last week. We covered 4 success behaviors, but resilience weaves as a thread through all 4 of those behaviors. In fact, right at the moment, I'm recording this on the road as we're delivering an executive development program. I'm in Madrid right now, and we talk about resilience as one of those core executive development topics as well. It really is the thread that binds these characteristics, these behaviors all together. And if you can include it into your arsenal, into your toolkit, you become that much stronger as a leader, as an executive in today's society and the world. All right, so before we jump in, let's have a quick look at who we are. Skills for Executives is the mother entity. Under that, we have several divisions, and Coaching for Companies is one of those divisions. As you can see, with Coaching for Companies, we have 3 areas of focus. We do business performance consulting, we do executive development, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then we also do executive coaching, whether that's one-on-one, whether it's team or group. So where are we located? Well, as of last year, we opened our 4th office in Singapore. We initially started in 2019 in Hong Kong, 2020 opened an office in Shanghai, 2022 in Sydney, and now last year in Singapore. So we're expanding. We have another couple of exciting locations that we're looking at probably in 2025. This year is all about consolidating and growing our organization in those 4 locations. But next year, we'll probably bring some more exciting news about new locations as we expand further around the world. All right, so with that said, let's have a look at one of our executive development functions, and it's where our virtual masterminds, the one that we've just completed this month, which was Mastering Success Behaviors, it's where this program sits. It's in the ET Academy. So in the Academy, we have these 3 different areas of focus or programs, if you like. We have 5 virtual masterminds. These are a 4 2-hour sessions that we offer in 3 different time frames, whether it's a 1 day, whether it's a 2 day, whether it's a 4 day split between those 4 sessions. But we offer these every quarter. So we've just finished Mastering Success Behaviors. Next one up is Communications as a Core Strength. That comes up in May. So if you're interested in that, you'll find more details where we release details through social media, through emails, etc. Then, of course, we have our transformational talent development programs. These are our flagship programs, 3 different programs, 3 tiers, from a 10-week program for emerging talent through to a 12-month program for senior executive talents. And then the pinnacle, the icing on the cake, are our 3 destination masterminds. They're summits that we hold, 3-day summits. We take a group of people, normally 10 to 15 max, away to some exotic location 3 times a year. And we really work on the collective genius of that group to ensure that everyone maximizes the value of what they're there for and wanting to achieve. Then that was the Academy. As you probably know, the live broadcast that we're doing today sits within this ET project bundle. So we have the weekly podcast, we have this monthly live broadcast. We have included this year a quarterly masterclass, and then we also have our quarterly challenges. So you'll learn more about the masterclass as we go to the end, but it's in March. The next one's in March, and then the challenge itself will be in April. So weekly, monthly, and 2 quarterly topics that we focus on. All right, so with that said, let's jump into today's topics. What we're going to be talking about, as you know, is resilience. And it's such a critical component that all executives, all leaders really need to learn how to create and build, because it supports, it's the underpinning, if you like, that helps to cultivate your mind, your mindset, during both personal and professional moments, and create those triumphs. Yeah. So it's, as it says on the screen, why resilience? Well, it's the cornerstone of overcoming challenges and achieving sustained success in all aspects of life. And if we were to try and define what it is, a classic definition talks about bouncing forward, as well as consistently being adaptable, being agile, optimistic, and having this growth mindset. And what's the role of resilience during these challenges, during these setbacks? Well, it's all about how we face the challenge and learning how to thrive during that adversity, not only survive. And I think that's really key for people to understand. People all around will be trying to survive during adversity. That's what we do as humans. But if you're able to embody resilience, resilience helps us to really learn how we can thrive in that environment and really maximize the opportunity that other people see as a challenge and difficulties. So let's have a look at some examples of real life examples of individuals who've demonstrated resilience throughout their careers, throughout their life, whether personal or professional or political lives. They've really been able to embody resilience and demonstrate how they were able to use it as a stepping stone throughout their careers. So let's have a look. As you can see, we've highlighted 6 people here that I'm sure, just by the pictures, without me even saying their names, you probably will be very familiar with them. From the top left corner, working our way across and down the page, You can see Nelson Mandela, absolute resilient master throughout his whole career, as are all the other five people. Mother Teresa, you'll probably need no introduction on her. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Oprah Winfrey, and even Viktor Frankl, maybe for many the least well known out of those six, but one of the Holocaust survivors, who really taught us so much about the power of our mind and what we can do with this degree of resilience. So let's have a look at just two of these people to understand a little bit more about what we mean by resilience. So the first I chose was Mahatma Gandhi. You know, he displayed this high level of resilience even throughout these non-violent resistance protests that he became so famous for. You may have heard of the Salt March. It was a 240-mile-long journey to protest against the British salt taxes. He endured multiple imprisonments over his life for civil disobedience. He engaged in numerous hunger strikes to protest injustice. And despite all of these challenges, he was able to persist throughout negotiations with the British authorities and really demonstrated the power of resilience throughout adversity like most of us never will experience. So I think he's a very worthy candidate as a resilience example. The next person you can see on the screen here is Mother Teresa. So Mother Teresa, so much we could say, but I'll try and limit it. You know, as you can see, she spent her life founding missionaries of charity, and she went through numerous challenges with this, including lack of resources and lots of opposition, surprisingly. She lived most of her life in poverty alongside those that she was serving. Right? Even despite all of this and the skepticism and the resistance, she was able to expand the missionaries of charity across the globe. She went through the crisis in Calcutta, facing immense adversity, but she remained committed. Even the Nobel Peace Prize was something that she didn't let overwhelm her. Instead, she emphasized the needs of the poor over her own personal acclaim. And then finally, throughout much of this, she was facing health challenges, including heart problems, but she continued her work until she passed in 1997. So just two examples of extreme cases of people that were able to harness resilience and maximize and thrive in their environment, not only survive. All right, so with that introduction, now let's move into our 4 mastering success behaviors. The first one, as you can see on the screen, is conscious decision making. Now, this is such an important topic. It really is the linchpin for living a purposeful life, both personally as well as professionally. And how does resilience and having a resilient mindset enhance your decision-making ability? Well, as you can see on the screen, it says it empowers us to make thoughtful decisions, even in the midst of uncertainty. Right? So just think about that. It gives us that focus, that clarity, and the ability to stay the course and make decisions. Many of us would back away fearing that if we make a wrong decision due to the uncertainty, all will be doomed. But those that have that resilient mindset are able to stay focused and clear of thought, and therefore they tend to foster a long-term success. So how do we learn to do that? Well, I've given 5 bullet points here, which make it seem a little bit easy, I have to admit. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. It takes effort. It takes practice, and it takes intention, right? It actually takes, there's 3 key steps. And if anyone follows my LinkedIn, you'll see I posted about this recently. One of my colleagues, who's a neuroscience coach, talks about the need for us to be able to make changes, and resilience, and building a resilient mindset as a change. She talks about the need for us to become more self-aware. After that, we then have to have the intention for change, and then we have to apply the effort. Now, even those 3 things, when we say them, sound easy. They're far from easy. So let's have a look at these 5 things. The first is adaptability. Then we have emotional regulation, positive framing, learning from setbacks, and long-term focus. So if you broke each one of those down, you'd be able to understand what I mean. Easy to say, not quick or easy to achieve, but if we really want to build this resilient mindset, then there's 5 areas of focus that you can apply that are going to help you in that regard. So for each one of these success behaviors, I'm going to give a couple of case studies. Now, you may or may not like the individuals that I'm going to show, but we'll show them nonetheless. So the first is Elon Musk. And if you think about his background, he faced a number of setbacks, right? With his business failures, with personal challenges. Life wasn't always as easy and as comfortable as it seems today for Mr. Musk. But throughout it all, he was able to maintain that determination that fueled his resilience. And he had that very clear desire to revolutionize multiple industries, such as, with his companies, Tesla, with SpaceX, with his Boring company, and the different areas he's partnering in, the product or the company Neuralink, looking at embedding brain chips. There's so many areas that he's focused on, currently looking to raise funds for an AI company. So there's so many things that he's been able to demonstrate his resilience. But when it comes to decision making, he's not shy in making bold decisions. And he invests his own funds in these companies, even during really challenging times. So he has that belief and that confidence, and he's able to demonstrate that resilience, that regardless of the circumstances, the environment, he's still able to exemplify this resilience-driven strategic choice or choices that he makes. So I think a really good example of somebody modern day, fluctuating between being the world's richest individual and in battle with Jeff Bezos and different people to be the world's richest person. So really interesting character to observe. Hasn't done himself any favors in the last 12 months with some of his comments and some of his actions. However, you have to at least acknowledge where he's got himself to from very humble beginnings. The second person I'd like to introduce, you probably know if you have children, but if you don't, maybe you've liked the movies as well, the Harry Potter trilogy, or actually it's much more than a trilogy, I think, 7 movies maybe. But J.K. Rowling, also extreme poverty and rejection before somebody picked up her series, the Harry Potter series. So her degree of perseverance, regardless of all the rejection she was facing, actually fueled that creativity and that resilience. It made her more determined to thrive in that environment rather than look for just survival. And, again, a very interesting character. If you look at her decisions to persist in submitting her manuscripts, despite all of the initial rejections, now look where she ended up. Global literary phenomenon, fame. I don't know what her financial value is, but for sure, incredible success through her resilience, her ability to persist and persevere and be resilient in the face of this adversity. All right, so that's our first one. That was around decision making, conscious decision making, incorporating resilience. Our second one is that we look at our second behavior coming out of the mastermind is that we look at clarity of purpose. And so in clarity of purpose, we speak about creating success. We look at, as you can see, these three areas: uncovering the significance of defining and aligning personal and professional goals with a clear sense of purpose. It really helps, this purpose really helps us transform and create a direction in our lives. It helps us motivate. And the more resilient we can be, the more we can stay aligned with our personal, our professional goals, and with our decision making, as we've already spoken about, right? So it gives us that sense of meaning. And we're not only looking to foster that fulfilling life for ourselves as individuals, but we're doing it for others, all right? And that's really what purpose is all about. So it's stretching ourselves, it's navigating the challenges and working in harmony with our values and our inspirations and aspirations for the good of others, not just for ourselves. And so if we can incorporate resilience into this mix, it becomes such a powerful dynamic. If we look at the relationship, as you can see here on the screen, it serves as a guiding force. It helps individuals navigate those challenges and stay focused on their life's purpose. And through resilience and a clear sense of purpose, they tend to act as a stronger guiding force for what we want to achieve. So we all know that as we move forward, not everything is going to be straightforward. It's not always going to be without its challenges, without the hurdles and the obstacles. Resilience really gives us that ability to withstand those challenges, to, adapt where needed, and to even bounce forward should we find ourselves knocked down. All right. And here's a couple of classic cases. I'm not sure if you've heard of Nick Vujicic, but incredible individual, born without arms or legs. And of course, as you can imagine, the physical challenges and the emotional challenges, struggles that he must have endured in growing up, in learning how to overcome, watching other normal, what we would call normal people born with 2 arms and 2 legs, grow around him, his own family. And here he is having to survive and learn how to do it in such a dynamic way. And what he did was he learned to embrace that resilience and transform all of this adversity into purpose, right? And if you've ever heard Nick speaking, such a wonderful individual, extremely motivational. He's an author. He contributes to charities, and he found his purpose through that inspiration to other people. So what he really exemplifies to me is that it matters not how many limitations we're born with, how many limitations we face during our lives. In comparison to what Nick has overcome, I'm sure you'll all pretty much agree that for the majority of the time, we've all had it pretty easy. And Nick really just exemplifies to me that through having this resilience, you don't let your limitations define you. So, classic case, another really good example is Malala from Pakistan. So, you've probably read about her in recent years. She was an advocate for girls being able to be educated in Pakistan. And as a result of that, she was really tested in the sense that she was targeted by very strongly, let's say, radical groups that didn't see what she believed in as something that they believed in. And she even survived an assassination attempt, right? But she took that pain and she channeled that pain through her resilience and became this well-known global activist herself, right? And she found purpose through promoting that education as a fundamental right for all children, be they male or female. And she's become this symbol of resilience and an advocate, of course, for human rights, education in particular, but really a wonderful demonstration of somebody, again, who has that clarity of purpose and the resilience to go with it, that's able to endure so many setbacks and so many hardships that really makes her stand out in her field. All right, well, that was the second of the success behaviors. That was looking at clarity of purpose. Now we move on to behavior 3, which is habits and routines. So habits and routines, anyone that knows me knows that I talk a lot about forming good habits over bad and establishing daily routines. And if you come to that workshop, you know that we spend 2 hours. We do a lot in those 2 hours talking about this. But what's it really mean? So if we look at the roles of habits and routines, they really go hand in hand with decision making, with clarity of purpose, and having these habits and routines that we want to have. They help us reach that long-term achievement that we know we want. All right. Now, how does resilience help us in this regard? Well, anyone that's ever tried to change a habit, you know exactly how resilience helps you. If you want to remove some of the bad habits or shift your daily routines and introduce new habits, new routines, as I've already said, you need to be self-aware, you need to have the intention, you need the effort. And resilience is so fundamental, so foundational to the challenges you're going to have to face and overcome as you practice, as you encounter setbacks and learn ways to adapt and strengthen your approach. So that's resilience working within the habit change process and the daily routine change process. So let's have a look at some of the areas, routines, if you like, or habits, where you could try this yourself. The morning routine using mindfulness is one of those that is a great starting point for anyone that's really wanting to make a significant impact, right? So being able to cultivate resilience by incorporating mindfulness practices into your morning routine is, whether that's to the level of meditation, whether it's just making sure that you're present and focused and intentional and conscious in your thoughts, being clear about what you want to do for the morning routine, is your call. But if you're able to really set the dial and follow through, then you're off to a wonderful start, an incredible start that's going to have a major impact over time. The second is regular exercise, making this a routine, building that physical and mental resilience through regular exercise, and enhancing your health, enhancing that pattern that we talk about so often through this regular exercise. For some, you're already there. For others, you find it easier than some. But for those that struggle with it, if you learn how to become more resilient, you're going to be able to establish this routine and stick with it. Not just, it's like smoking, give up smoking for a week and then you're back smoking again. Here we're talking about regular exercise over the sustained long term. All right, so you really need to develop that resilience. There'll be times where you don't feel like it, and other times where you simply want to ignore it altogether. So learning how to become resilient in those situations really becomes, it's that thread again. All right. The third one is establishing very regular, consistent sleep patterns. Now, this is so important. There's so many studies being released of late around the value and the importance of getting quality sleep. Not only the duration, but the quality of the sleep. So routines become foundational for that to happen. You need to really be able to get your own body clock in tune with the circadian rhythms and prioritize sufficient, consistent sleep to support that cognitive function and your emotional well-being. So when we go to sleep, it's giving our brain the opportunity to really do what it needs to do. It goes through and does the house cleaning or the housekeeping. It puts all of our things that we've learned during the day and stores them properly in the right order in our thinking and our memory. And then, of course, tying well-being, emotional well-being, but also physical well-being. Both of these things are tied so heavily to the quality of our sleep. So resistance, resilience are critical again, because there's going to be times where you want to go out late. Now, that's not bad if you do it once in a while, but you need that consistency of sleep to really start to become that pattern for you. And so you need to be resilient even when you don't want to do it. All right. The fourth one, reflective journaling. Maybe an interesting one to be on this list. If you're able to develop a degree of resilience by maintaining a reflective journal, it allows you to deal with a lot of built up emotions, identify some patterns that are occurring throughout your life. You'll identify certain habits, certain routines. You'll be able to start to become more self-aware and understand how you can self-regulate. Now, journaling is one of those things. Some people love doing it. Some people just don't see the value in it. And therefore, to maintain it is where the resilience really comes into its own. If you can journal every day, whether it's morning or evening, then most people do it evening, I believe, but many people also like to kick off their day and get their journals in order so that they have some clarity going into the day as well. Maybe even record some of the dreams that they had so they can even work on those. All right, the final thing is continuous learning habits. many of us, I personally don't have an issue with this. So I'm very resilient when it comes to lifelong learning. But for many, forming this habit of continuous learning is not something that they embrace. I have to say, though, in today's world, it's really a given that you must learn how to continue to evolve with your understanding in certain areas, right? So if you're an expert in one thing, I talk a lot with in some of my keynotes about how when I was first moving into the workforce a long time ago, 46 odd years ago now, the skills that I learned in those early years would probably see me through for around 30 years. What the experts are now saying is that you learn a skill today and it's probably out of date within 3 years. So, by sheer virtue of that simple mathematical calculation, you can see the need for everyone to really continually upskill and reskill to stay valuable throughout your career. All right. So, a example, a case study of somebody who really exemplifies and has this great book that talks about um, resilient habits is Mel Robbins. So her book's called The 5 Second Rule. If you've never read it, or if you don't know Mel, Mel faced career, personal challenges, as we all did, maybe a little bit more severe than some. And she created this 5 second rule. And it's really a technique that helps us overcome procrastination and make positive decisions. It's a habit, right? And by forming this habit, it takes practice, of course, to form this habit. But she gives some fantastic examples about not only how it transformed her life, but how it's transformed many of the people she's helped over her career to really overcome obstacles using that degree of resilience. So, one great example. Another is looking at Charles Duhigg. So for many of you, and I could have also put James Clear up here. So Charles Duhigg is the author of The Power of Habit. He created this thing called the habit loop, and it comes back to what we spoke about earlier about habits and how resilient we need to be in being able to reshape those habits. So read his book. It's a great book, I have to say. If you want to learn anything about being able to change your habits for the better, if you want to transform your journey, if you want to grow your level of resilience, then changing habits is one of those things that if you do it, you'll never regret it. But two great examples, in demonstrating resilience when it comes to habits and routines. Well, that brings us to the final behavior that we covered during our mastermind, I should say. The fourth one is a little bit of an interesting one because it's something that we all do, yet when we actually start to think about it, we become very hesitant, and many of us really become reluctant in selling. But it's something we do throughout our whole life, whether we realize it or not. We're all salespeople. And what we talk about in the mastermind is we talk about becoming your authentic self when you're selling. And so we look at how does resilience help you here? So we look at two areas. We look at authenticity. And I don't know if you know much about authenticity, but we'll talk about that in a moment. We'll give you some examples. And we also talk about the resilience side. So let's have a look. So as you can see, authenticity is not just having a virtue, but it's an asset. particularly in sales. And it helps by being authentic, by being your natural self, you really start to build a degree of trust among those that you work with, those clients that you might be selling to. So that's what happens with authenticity. In terms of resilience, as you can see, it says that it becomes the bedrock that really enables us as individuals to stay true to ourselves. So to stay authentic, in other words, and reinforce that authenticity during those sales, even when we confront challenges. And if anyone's ever done professional selling, you'll know that there's many, many times where people will reject you. They'll reject what you're trying to sell. And if you're authentic, if you're true to yourself, and you understand how to be resilient, then you really have a great platform to learn how to embrace and embody sales in this authentic, resilient manner. So let's have a look at 5 ways that will support your resilience. So I'll get it right in a minute. 5 ways on how you can be resilient to support your authenticity. All right. So the first one that we say is embracing vulnerability. So if you think about our resilient mindset, it really allows us to embrace vulnerability, acknowledging our imperfections. We don't have to be that perfect person that sets out and everything is in order before we make the first move. We learn to really become more transparent, and we embrace that degree of vulnerability that goes with that as an authentic individual, and the resilience we build up helps us to stay that course. The second one is adapting to change. And resilience in this case enables us again to adapt to any changing circumstances without compromising our values. Again, staying true to who we are, our authentic self, being vulnerable even in adapting to changing circumstances and not compromising our values. The third one is it helps us handle criticism. So that resilient mindset helps all of us navigate criticism with a degree of grace and elegance. We're not worried about being perfect. We're not out to always be right. What we're there to do is be our natural self, to be open and honest and transparent. And that takes a degree of resilience, particularly in the face of criticism. And learning from setbacks is sort of almost the left and the right hand with handling criticism. Learning from setbacks, when we talk about resilience, as an individual, we view the setback as an opportunity for growth. So in the program that I mentioned at the beginning of this live broadcast, the Executive Development Program, one of the professors we talk about is Dr. Karen Rivich from Pennsylvania University. And we also talk about Professor Susan Cabosa from Stanford. Now, in their research, they both found similar things around resilient people are able to see a challenge as an opportunity. They're able to stay optimistic in those moments when they face setbacks. And this really defines resilient people. And the last one here is balancing professional and personal identities. Maintaining that balance between your professional roles and your personal roles and the identities that you assume in those different areas often takes this degree of resilience so that we're able to continually transition. Different demands on us require us to be more resilient. to be able to transition between these different roles as we move from maybe our work life during the day, coming home and being in that personal space in a different role, really requires that resilience to be able to maintain both of those roles to that highest degree. Just to wrap up, let's have a look at a few examples, real life examples of people that have demonstrated authenticity as well as resilience throughout their careers. And we have 4 people that we'll introduce here. Looking at the top left on the screen is Zig Ziglar. If you come to the bottom right, you'll see Jill Conrath. If you go across to her left, you'll see Mary Kay Ash. And then up to Zig's right is Chet Holmes. So, each of these individuals, whether it was looking at authenticity and the way that they acted as individual salespeople, really shone through, as well as their degree of resilience. So as you can see on the screen, Zig Ziglar, renowned as a salesperson and known for his genuine and personable approach. Mary Kay Ash, known for her resilience, founder of the Mary Kay Cosmetics, faced many, many setbacks, but somehow remained resilient and created this empire. Chet Holmes, resilience and strategic selling. Again, another salesperson, a strategist, exhibited resilience by transforming companies through strategic selling. Interesting guy. If you've not heard about him, worthwhile checking out. And then Jill Conrath, authenticity in modern sales. Jill's another one like Chet, a real influencer, emphasizes authenticity and demonstrates resilience. Her approach in building these connections with her clients is, again, really interesting. But all 4 demonstrate resilience and authenticity. All right, so that brings us pretty much to the end of today. What did we cover today? We looked at the importance of building a resilient mindset. So important, regardless of what character trait we're talking about, regardless of your personality, regardless of your behaviors. Having that resilient mindset allows you to weave that thread all the way through and underpin each of those elements. So we looked at 4 specific success behaviors following or dovetailing off the back of our first mastermind for this year. The 4 that we looked at: decision-making, clarity of purpose, habits and routines, and authentic self-selling. So who are we? As you can see, coaching for companies. Check us out. You can see us or find us on social media: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or you can go to our website, coachingforcompanies.com. That's the number 4, no spaces, all lowercase, coachingforcompanies.com. All right, well, next month, tongue twisted, month of March, we have our masterclass coming up. We're talking about memory alchemy. So if you want to learn some real classic methods for transforming your ability, your memory, your recall, using some advanced techniques, then join us on the 30th of March. And we're going to really explore and give you, first of all, you get a free ebook when you join up. The ebook will give you a base, a foundation to build from that will go deeper when we look at the masterclass. As it says, rooted in the fusion of neuroscience and cognitive psychology, it aims to transmute the ordinary into the extraordinary by reshaping the way we perceive, store, and recall information. So with that, Team ET, Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for being a guest on the ET Project Live. I hope you've enjoyed. Hopefully, we didn't bore you too much and we gave you some interesting tips around resilience. I look forward to catching up with you next month and also during the masterclass. With that, bye for now.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon so I can pop up in your feed occasionally with a great tip for your ultimate growth.